Welcome to today's explainer. Look, if you've been feeling just absolutely exhausted lately, trying to keep your head above water, paying the bills, keeping the fridge stocked, you are so not alone. Something feels really different in Canada right now, right? The pressure is seriously on. And honestly, the cost of living is overwhelming. But here is the incredible thing we're going to look at today. Instead of just giving up, Canadians are getting smart. Like, really smart. They are adapting. Today, we're walking through the brilliant ways people are completely changing how they live, work, and spend, not just to survive, but to actually thrive again in this new economy. We're calling it the Great Canadian Pivot.
So how do you survive when the math just stops working? This is the emotional rupture that so many of us are facing right now. I mean, you might have a great job. You might be working incredibly hard, maybe even juggling multiple jobs. But the rent keeps rising. Groceries keep rising. The utility bills, yeah, they keep rising too. And your salary, it's just not keeping up anymore. For a lot of people, almost every paycheck literally disappears the second it hits the bank account. It creates this totally frustrating feeling of running on a treadmill, working constantly without actually moving forward.
Section 1, the new financial reality.
Okay, let's dive into this. Just a few years ago, earning a decent middle-class salary in Canada gave you a pretty comfortable life. It covered your living costs, allowed for some solid savings, and actually paved a realistic path to buying a home. But contrast that old reality with the 2026 reality. Picture a young professional, maybe a marketing manager or a nurse. They definitely consider themselves firmly middle class, yet they're now struggling just to maintain basic stability. Rent and groceries are eating up almost everything they bring in, and the scariest part? Even a tiny, unexpected expense, like needing new brakes on your car, now causes severe financial stress for people who are supposedly making good money. And honestly, nothing highlights this new reality quite like the number 50%. If you're living in a major city like Toronto or Vancouver, rent alone can now easily swallow half of your entire monthly income. Half! Just gone, right out the door for a roof over your head. And after that, well, you still have to pay for groceries, transportation, your phone bill, insurance, utilities, maybe paid on some debt. It leaves absolutely zero breathing room. You're basically working full-time just to fund your landlord's mortgage. But as we're about to see, Canadians are finding some incredibly strategic ways around this massive roadblock.
Section 2, the Great Geographic Shift.
Because of these skyrocketing costs, young professionals and families are literally packing up and leaving expensive coastal cities entirely. I mean, the math of this migration is completely undeniable. Take a look at the data for Toronto and Vancouver. You've got extreme housing costs and a massive rent burden, which leads directly to low financial stability and crazy high emotional stress. But look right below that. People are moving out to Alberta, Saskatchewan, the prairies, and parts of Atlantic Canada. Why? Because the housing costs are dramatically lower. That rent burden actually becomes manageable, and suddenly, as you can see, financial stability becomes totally possible again. They are actively reclaiming their future simply by changing their postal code.
Section 3, redesigning income and living.
You know, relying on a single income source? In 2026, that just doesn't feel safe anymore. We're seeing this massive surge in side hustles, freelancing, building online businesses, content creation, remote consulting. People are flat out refusing to be trapped by one stagnant salary. But okay, here is a truly brilliant adaptation: remote work arbitrage. This is where workers live in a cheaper, smaller Canadian city, but they negotiate to earn salaries from larger, much more expensive urban markets. They're playing the system so intelligently, earning a big city Toronto salary while paying prairie rent, which means, you might actually be able to afford your groceries this week.
And then there's how we actually live. We really need to reframe something that used to carry a bit of a stigma. Having roommates in your late 20s or even your 30s, that is no longer a sign that you're falling behind. Actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. It is a highly intelligent, strategic financial move. Step 1, you combine resources through long-term shared living. Step 2, by doing this, you drastically reduce your individual rent burden, completely dodging that 50% trap we talked about earlier. And step 3, you use that extra cash to accelerate your savings and get your financial breathing room back. It might not feel like the traditional ideal at first, but this strategy is keeping a massive amount of young professionals out of crushing debt.
Section 4, the rise of financial minimalism. So what is financial minimalism? It's basically a lifestyle adaptation prioritizing financial survival, strict budgeting, and the absolute avoidance of debt over luxury lifestyles and appearances. People are becoming hyper-intentional with every single dollar they spend. Gone are the days of keeping up with the Joneses. Chasing a flashy lifestyle just to impress people on social media, that is totally out.
Meal prepping, taking public transit, religiously using budgeting apps, and cutting out all that unnecessary spending, that is officially in. Financial survival is now taking clear precedence over just looking wealthy. It's a super pragmatic, realistic approach to navigating the modern economy.
Section 5. Redefining the Canadian Dream.
So the crucial point is right here. Many people are prioritizing flexibility and lower stress over overwhelming debt. For younger Canadians today, average home prices in major cities are just completely disconnected from average incomes. Even with a six-figure salary, qualifying for a mortgage is incredibly difficult without major family support. So, instead of just banging their heads against the wall, people are making the conscious choice to delay homeownership. They're renting longer and focusing on building a really stable foundation first. And while that might sound a bit disappointing at first glance, it's actually incredibly empowering. Delaying a massive home purchase to protect your mental health and avoid overwhelming debt, that is not a defeat. It's a brilliant self-preservation strategy.
Let's compare these two ideas. Think about the traditional dream, with the big detached home, the luxury cars, the rapid financial growth. But striving for that dream right now, it's causing exhaustion, anxiety, and just massive frustration because it feels literally impossible for so many. But look at the new definition of success. People are slowly rebuilding their lives around stability, freedom, lower stress, and long-term sustainability. By redefining what success actually looks like for themselves, people are navigating this crisis without the toxic anxiety of falling short of outdated expectations. They're finding genuine peace in a totally chaotic economy.
Because at the end of the day, survival in Canada today is no longer just about your income. It is all about strategy. The people who are going to succeed financially in this new landscape are the ones who adapt early. They stay flexible. They manage their money carefully, and they make highly realistic, intelligent decisions about where and how they live. Navigating 2026 is a strategic game, and by employing the adaptations we've explored in this explainer, you can absolutely be one of the early adapters who are winning that game. So, I'll leave you with this question. Are you still trying to afford the old dream, or are you designing a new one? Listen, it is totally okay to mourn the fact that life has gotten harder and way more expensive. Your frustration is completely valid. But ignoring the reality, well, that doesn't help anybody. You have the tools, you have the strategies, and you have the power to pivot. Thank you so much for joining me for today's explainer. Keep adapting, stay smart, and I will see you in the next one.